News Talk 98.9, the roar of Memphis. Tool Talk Radio with Joe and Allan.
Welcome to Tool Talk Radio, coming to you from the Brown Refrigeration Studios. I'm Joe Thorderson with Thor's Hammer, Carpentry and Wood Turning.
I'm Allan Gilbreth with DarkOakMedia.com.
And I'm Maximilian, and man, I want to wish you a very happy Thomas Crapper Day.
Okay. We don't have to dump that one, do we? No. Okay.
You two are going to be unbearable today.
Well, we've saluted this great man many times on this show, but for those of the new listeners, Max, tell us who Thomas Crapper is.
He was, first of all, the Thomas Crapper Day is dedicated to the anniversary of his death. And he was a famous English businessman and plumber who was erroneously credited with inventing the toilet, but he did, in fact, perfect and promote it. And he's one of those guys who kind of perfected the idea of like open window advertising.
Oh, interesting. Okay, he did play a strong role in the toilet right now. Well, it was the interior of the toilet.
He added the ball cock.
Right, and that changed everything. That's how you flush.
Yes, and he marketed the toilet. So, basically, how you see enough commercials, you begin to associate, like, the old guy that used to get up at 4 a.m. to make the donuts, or the Maytag repairman, or, different. Well, his company was the one who was really out there pushing, going, you need one of these in your home. So people began using the company name to identify the product.
So he was like the Cy Sperling of...
He was out there,
of toilets. Okay.
Well, in so many ways, it solved so many health issues.
No, he did. He was really a great man in history. I mean,
he was a very dapper-looking gentleman.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, he was extremely well-dressed. He was a proper business owner.
Absolutely. Okay, well, that is out there on the table. If you've got, if you want to salute Thomas Crapper, or if you want to just reminisce about happy memories of, plumbing memories or something, I don't know, whatever.
I need somebody with some of the new stuff out of Japan.
There we go.
Because that's some high-tech robotics right there.
Okay. All right. That's a good one, Max. That's definitely a noteworthy holiday. You can reach us if you want to chime in about that at the Big M Roofing and Remodeling Hotline at 901-683-0989. And apparently normally we would be on the, if you want to watch the show, you could watch us at the News Talk 98.9 The Roar's Facebook page, or the News Talk 98.9 The Roar's X page. Max is having connection issues with the Facebook page, so I guess you got to go over to X. And I strongly encourage you to do that, because if you do that, you're going to see Allan and I sporting some new Tool Talk Radio hats. This has been in the making, in the works for a while. I don't know why this has taken so long, but these look good. It has the Tool Talk Radio logo. They're very comfortable, and we're working on making these available to others. So if you if you want to get one, maybe just reach out to us and we'll figure out a way to do it. But they're pretty cool, Allan, I got to admit.
Yeah, we finally got a vendor we like.
Yeah, exactly. Yep. And also we invite you to go to the Tool Talk Radio Facebook page and check out the posts we've made over there, including, boy, this is taking us a while to set the table, Allan, including... in great moments in building history, this is a shout out to our buddy Ditch, our program director here. Because there's a contest going on right now at News Talk 98.9 The Roar for the Fontainebleau Hotel. I want to keep saying Fontainebleau, but the resort it's the hotel and resort in Las Vegas. This thing's been 15 years in the making. Some people wondered if it was ever going to be built, but apparently it is just the new hot spot to go in Vegas. It's a pretty interesting architectural discussion, though. That's what we're going to lean into today.
Oh, yes.
So we'll be getting to that. Let's see. For our we have a must-have item of the week that I think is it's going to be an important discussion. For people that have... It's one of those things, when you need it, you absolutely need it. So this is going to be interesting, Allan. We're going to have one of our historically terrible discussions, and we're going to talk about fluorescent lighting. There's a lot of things about fluorescent lighting that I'm kind of glad its time has passed. Do we make fluorescent lights anymore?
Oh, yes. They're still in full and wide production for now.
Okay. Max has a deep cut about vampire power drainage, and actually it's not maybe fair to say it's a deep cut because it's more a question for you, right?
I mean, it is sort of a question, but I like the excuse to push the button.
Okay. And let's see, we've got one more that I'm going to tease. And this is a new segment we're calling From the Mind of Max. And I'm not going to tease it at all what it's about, but it's another thought-provoking. It's more of a roundtable discussion that we're going to flesh out, and hopefully we'll come up with some dynamic answers for that. So, but before we get to that, Alan, I had just sort of a quickie question for you.
That's the most foul, cruel, and bad-tempered rodent you ever set eyes on. I just wanted to hug.
Oh, rats in the kitchen, just like that delightful movie I taped in the theater.
Okay, that's our critter. If you're new to Tool Talk Radio, that indicates that we're going to have a Critter Wars discussion. So,
all right, what you got?
Okay, well, I don't know what this was, but as if you've been living here in the Mid-South, you know we had our deep freeze. We had about 7 or 8, maybe 9, 10 days of really cold weather, pretty chilly. The snow just stuck around. And then all of a sudden we got a big warm up, and 2 days later I was wearing shorts and a t-shirt. It was 60, like 60 degrees outside. Well, we had a limb that fell that I had to go deal with in the backyard. And so I had the chainsaw out, and I'm kicking it, I'm cutting it up and everything. And man, it was muggy. It was in between rains. The backyard was soaked. It had that misty kind of. And I'm telling you, I was getting bit by something. It felt like mosquitoes, but I don't know what it was. But Alan, what was biting me? I guess I was like, could mosquitoes hatch that quickly? Or what kind of bugs do we still deal with in the middle of winter here in the Mid-South? So.
Well, you've actually got 3 things that could feel like a mosquito bite.
Okay.
And of course, you have mosquitoes right out of the gate.
Right.
And I will tell you, the minute it warmed up over on one of my job sites, big empty room, right? We're mudding and taping and all that. Lining the walls, I think this was Tuesday morning, were mosquitoes.
So if you were to take a mosquito and grow it up to 10 feet, big, that is like a nightmare creature, right? I mean, they grow that fast.
Well, all right, they didn't grow that fast. What they were was hidden. And since you were out there with the wood of under the bark, especially on some of those dead trees and under the shrubbery, were hidden adult mosquitoes riding out the winter.
They can survive in those temperatures.
Yeah, that's how they do it.
Are they kind of like tribbles and rabbits where they just reproduce super quickly?
They also do that very well. They do that too. But the biggest thing is most of your members of the fly family they have a few stalwart explorers that hide away in the cracks and crevices of our backyards and forest and everything. So that's why every time you get a little warm spell, mosquitoes are there within a week.
That's because we're talking 2 days though.
Yeah, they were.
That wasn't too short a notice for them.
They were coming out of probably the very tree limb you were cutting up.
Well, the thing was, it was a dead tree, and it was a good, 10 inches in diameter, but the inside was hollowed out. It was clearly dead. The limb had just died.
Well, it was clearly, apparently, the winter home of mosquitoes.
So they're ticked off at me. I just disrupted
you were basically a walking buffet.
And they can survive. So you stir them up. So they're just minding their own business, sleeping. The limb falls.
We also have midges, which is another member of the fly family that bites.
What do these things look like when they sleep? Do they snore?
Actually, they kind of fold up. It's hilarious to find one that's actually hibernating.
Okay.
They find a little crack and slide up in it.
Yeah, that sounds like one of your hobbies, Alan, finding hibernating mosquitoes. So.
Sounds innocent for something so vicious.
Yeah. All right. Well, thanks for answering that question because I was very confused. We hope you're not confused, but if you are, we'll see what we can do about it when we come back here on Tool Talk Radio.
Tool Talk Radio with Joe and Allan.
Oh, I'm afraid the deflector shield will be quite operational when your friends arrive.
News Talk 98.9, the roar of Memphis.
Imagine if someone put a deflector shield on your can.
Yeah, I don't know. Never
Happy
apologize.
birthday, Thomas Crapper.
There we go. So, yeah, never apologize for your accomplishments, Palpatine. Anyway, welcome back to Tool Talk Radio, coming to you from the Brown Refrigeration Studios. I'm Joe Thorderson with Thor's Hammer, Carpentry and Wood Turning, here with my buddy Allan Gilbreth from Dark Oak Media and our pal Max over there behind the glass. You can call or text us at the Big M Roofing and Remodeling Hotline at 901-683-0989. There's a lot of things on the table. As Max indicated, a man who revolutionized toilets, basically the modern plumbing, you could say, Thomas Crapper. It's his holiday today, and I mean, he did do a lot to help society. Let's face it.
And it was his death day, not his birthday. But it sounds more fun to say happy birthday.
Okay, whatever. You know, his legend lives on. And I mean, you can go to London or England, right? And there's still monuments in terms like his name is on.
There's still vents. There's manhoods,
or manhole covers.
Manholes. There we go.
Yeah. So you can do that. Also, we invite you to watch the show. The only platform we're on this morning at the moment is the News Talk 98.9 The Roar's X page. I guess there's some connection issues with the Facebook page. Max will try to log in later. But you can see the new Tool Talk Radio hats that Allan and I are sporting. Let us know what you think, and if you want one. We're not selling them openly right now, but we can probably find you one if you're really desperate. So, also we invite you to go to the Tool Talk Radio Facebook page and check out the posts we've made over there. So, all right, well, Allan, this I think is a pretty timely discussion. So let's get to it.
Oh my!
This armor's useless. Why do we even wear it?
Oh, you stink!
This is the worst.
I don't know if it's the worst, but today on Historically Terrible, we're going to talk about fluorescent lighting. And here's some of my beefs with it. And, I mean, gosh, how many sponsors are we offending right now? Is there anybody? People are still making these things, right?
Oh, yes.
Okay. Well, let's just really quickly. I had to research this because I had no clue, Allan. It looks like fluorescent lighting was invented in 1926 by Jacques Reisler, or Jacques, I don't know however you say his name. He was a French engineer. He developed a coating for the inside of the light that absorbed the light by using mercury. Mercury, we know, isn't a great thing for people, right?
Edmund Germers, who came up with the mercury vapor lamp.
Okay. All right.
So,
anyway, there's a lot of...
You're looking at several people in a row that brought us to the modern fluorescent light.
Okay. Yeah. And they were using gas, basically, to do it, And when I asked my wife about what's her opinion about fluorescent lights, the first thing she said was that it takes the warmth out of your skin tones. It's not flattering, and she hates them. So, okay. There's a lot of other things to pile on here, but let's talk about fluorescent lighting. And not to be haters, but,
Well,
it is historically terrible that we're talking about right now. So,
well, all right. Well, we used to also have whale lamps.
Right.
It's the technology of the day becomes supplanted by something else.
And hopefully something better.
Well, we've now moved up to LEDs because, in 1910, we weren't working with semiconductors yet.
Right.
We were working with conductors, and we had light bulbs. And, of course, the minute one person invents a category, then a wide variety of other people come along. So let's just say, for the sake of argument, Joe, you invented the violin. So you designed it, you built it, you made it, and you kind of showed everybody this is how it works.
Yeah.
And about 2 years later, there's some 12-year-old comes along and can play your invention 1,000 times better than you'll ever be able to play it.
Right.
Welcome to technology and time. So Edison and the crew came up with, DC power, AC power, Tesla light bulbs. Then we get into just around World War I, World War II, and mercury vapor. We began discovering ions, and the things were phosphoresce. And next thing you know, we have fluorescent lighting.
Well, I wanted to ask you about that because I was also fascinated on where we get mercury. I don't really know, and I didn't have time to research. So where do we get?
Mercury is a naturally occurring element on Earth. It is not in the form you think of it as.
Because
it is
I
a
think
mineral.
of we have an old thermostat, and if you open the cap, you see a little blob of mercury floating around. It's pretty cool looking, but
the only reason I know about mercury is because Ivan the Terrible used to drink that for medicine.
Well,
there you go.
They used to think mercury was a cure for mortality.
Yeah, like the
it could
elixir
help
of life.
make you immortal, and what it did was make you mad as a hatter.
I was about to say, what does it do? It affects your brain,
It
right?
actually eats your brain because it destroys the neurons in your brain. Mercury is a naturally occurring mineral. It can be made into what we know of as mercury, which is the liquid metal.
Yeah.
And it has had a lot of uses. But one of the biggest things here is that a mercury vapor lamp can be made to phosphoresce by putting power through it, which means you were now free of the heating element in a light bulb.
Okay, that's what I wanted to ask you, because we've seen when a fluorescent bulb is starting to peter out, or else maybe it just isn't connected right and it's flickering.
Yes.
And there, like you said, I mean, a normal light bulb doesn't do that. It's either on or off.
Right. Because
generally, so yeah.
The tungsten is generally the thing inside of a regular light bulb, and either it's connected and glowing, but it's also very hot.
So what's happening when it's flickering? Does that mean there's a gas leak, or does it mean it's wearing out?
That means the items inside of it, the electrical connections, have begun to wear through, and it's not exciting the gas ions the way it should.
Right.
So
Okay.
it's not firing up like it should. And then you also get into the fact that different kinds of fluorescent bulbs needed to control the power source to them better. So that's why in a lot of like commercial settings, like if you're in an office right now listening to us and you look up, you're going to see that bay in your ceiling with 2, 3, or 4-foot long fluorescent bulbs in it.
Well, I was going to say because
we had bulbs that could cover long areas.
Which today, I mean, now granted, in fairness, we didn't have that back in 1926 or anything.
Right.
So I guess it was revolutionary. But today, one little LED bulb can illuminate as much as a giant whatever. But what I don't like about the fluorescent lights that I've dealt with is they're really heavy because they have that ballast thing in the. Is that what it's called?
Yeah, the ballast is the device that controls how the power is distributed inside of a fluorescent lighting setup.
Yeah, instead of just a plug and a wire like you'd have on a lamp or something. And then how many times have we had to repair a ceiling because somebody stuck a fluorescent light up there, they didn't anchor it properly or whatever, and it just falls or whatever, but
and ballast wear out, and then you got the wiring issues, and you got to change that stuff out, and bulbs wear out. Bulbs go bad. So you're up there changing bulbs, and fluorescent bulbs, because they weren't a slave to the tungsten wire, could become all kinds of shapes.
Right.
So we've got U shapes, and we've got curly Qs, and we've got 8-foot long and 4-foot long, and I've seen fluorescent bulbs as short as 2 inches long.
I feel like I've seen,
which, I mean, we went crazy with the idea, and again, as with any tech, the more people throw ideas at it, the more variations of it you get.
Right.
The problem is it's not the most convenient technology.
No, it's like you got to get, you have to. I mean, for one thing, the bulb is huge. I don't know. It's a hassle. And then when you got to dispose of it, you feel guilty throwing it in your garbage can, and
Well, it's not the most environmentally friendly device.
Yeah.
Well, like you said, it was kind of a product of its time because it's like you had for all intents and purposes, people probably lived through. There were probably people that were pretty old that lived through generations of I remember before the time before electricity when everything was candle lit, and so maybe candle illumination was even worse. Looking for your face and everything, or it was even more impractical. And so it's just because it wasn't environmentally friendly, it was more, like you said, much more innovative for its time.
Well, that's the thing. It's just whatever could be invented, they're going to invent it.
Well, gas lighting, if you lived in it long enough, would give you tuberculosis.
Because I mean, those are candles and oil lamps. They're giving off.
Yeah, they're giving off.
And stuff.
Everything gave off a fume of some kind or another and needed air.
Right.
So then incandescent lighting came along, and incandescent lighting is still with us today. The problem is that little tungsten bar works off of heat. And the fluorescent bulb produced a lot less heat. So, that was what was the big selling point. It's less heat and more varieties.
Okay. All right. Yeah. Sorry for everybody out there that's a big fluorescent lighting fan.
I don't think anybody's a huge fan.
Yeah, nobody's going to go to the mat on this one. So anyway, that's our historically terrible for the week. You're listening to Tool Talk Radio. We're going to take a quick break, and we'll be right back.
Tool Talk Radio with Joe and Allan.
I live by the quarry. We should hang out by the quarry and throw things down there.
News Talk 98.9, the roar of Memphis.
Exactly. Put down that cell phone and get out and enjoy nature. And welcome back to Tool Talk Radio, coming to you from the Brown Refrigeration Studios. I'm Joe Thorderson with Thor's Hammer, Carpentry and Wood Turning. Here with my buddy Allan Gilbreth from darkoakmedia.com and our pal Max over there behind the glass. You can call or text us at the Big M Roofing and Remodeling Hotline at 901-683-0989. We also invite you to watch the show on the News Talk 98.9 The Roar's X page. I don't know if the Facebook page is connected yet, Max. It sounds like it's not. So we're just on one of our platforms today. But if you're on there, we would love your opinion about our new Tool Talk Radio caps that we've got on. They're pretty cool. We've got a big Tool Talk Radio logo on the front. On the back, it's proudly displaying, Allan just flipped it, the 98.9 FM, well, it's not the logo, but it's just the
call letters.
The call letters. So pretty cool. Very cool caps. And if you want one, there may be a way for us to get you one. They're not for sale officially, but, we'd like to get you one if you want one. So
we're working on it.
We also invite you to run over to the Tool Talk Radio Facebook page and check out the posts we've made over there. So in a minute, I don't know if we've got any music for this, but it's going to be, I'm calling this Ask Allan because I know you're the one to ask about this, and I hope it doesn't devolve into a food dude discussion. So we're going to get to that in just a moment. Before we do, we want to talk about our good buddy, Larry Brown with Brown Refrigeration. Well, I can't think of a more important...
That man's been busy.
Yeah, I can't... it's funny, too, because one thing, boy, was it noticeable this week. 2 weeks ago, we were dealing with the cold, and we're just thinking about, please just keep our house warm. Last week, I was thinking about humidity. I don't know about you, but our windows, man, they were fogged up. We had dense fog alerts. It rained the whole week. Humidity was everything. Well, part of your HVAC system is humidity control. And keeping the air clean and keeping the air at the proper, I don't know what you call it, density, but anyway.
Comfort level.
Yeah. And all of that, it's funny because when you talk to Larry, he says it so matter-of-factly, but there's so much science and so much technology that goes into your HVAC system. This is nothing for you to play games with. Don't jump on YouTube and go, I'm just going to fix my own HVAC system. Don't even touch it. You can change your air filters. That's about all I would do. But you need competent experts, and there's nobody better than Brown Refrigeration. They're the entire business culture over there. I mean, Larry's been working on this for over 40 years. He's got it down to a well-oiled machine. They have the best staff. They're very reliable, and of course, they're always dealing with the latest technology. Train. They work with Train products. They also are providers of the Remy Halo system, which uses the UV power of the sun to create cleaning air particulates that not only are just clean and they blow out clean air, it cleans every surface that it lands on. It's also a good idea to get your air ducts clean regularly. What do you think? Once a year, something, especially if you got a lot of pets or,
Well, yeah, if you got kids or pets, there's stuff building up in those, in your AC system.
Keep it functioning well. Get Brown Refrigeration out there once or twice a year to just give your system a tune-up, which generally is a lot of preventative maintenance. It pays for itself, really. And it's just great to be able to stay on top of everything going on with your HVAC system. We love Brown Refrigeration. We encourage you to get in touch with them directly at 901-362-1881 or go to their very easy-to-remember website, brownref.com. All right, I don't know if you got anything queued up for this, Max, but I had a question for Allan, so Probably not.
Go
Okay.
ahead.
All right. I was waiting for his deafening the organ or something.
Dun dun dun. Yeah.
Allan, I'm in a lot of people's homes regularly, looking at jobs or things like that, and I've noticed a trend. And maybe I'm just late to the game. This has probably been around for years. However, a lot of I'd call them hipsters or some, younger couple. They're in their they're a 40-year-old couple or something, and they have entire shelves and everything dedicated to. They have those old mason jars that we used to see at our grandmother's house with the air sealing lids or something, and they're getting into canning, and they have equipment. They have all sorts of storage things like that.
I don't know, Max. Pass me back that item I handed you earlier.
Okay, because Allan. So here's the thing. I know nothing about
canning.
Well, I knew you'd be the one to ask about that. I knew you were into this, but the thing is. When I was asking somebody about it the other day, and he was telling me, he goes, "Man, here's the thing," because he's into he wants to design something that's going to help store his canning, the jars where he's going to keep them, the equipment that he uses to do it, and basically he was telling me, he goes, "Man, this is the best. It's like you make a big pot of whatever, you make a big pot of stew or something, and it air seals it. You've got a supply of fresh food. You're not just eating a bunch of processed canned food."
Right.
It sounds cool, and I'm like, I guess I'm just really late to the party on this, but I want to learn more about canning.
150 years, but it's okay.
Well, that's okay, but but it seems very mainstream now. Like a lot of people are doing it. So.
Home canning and home preservation comes and goes. This was absolutely a necessity back, when we were more a agricultural society.
That's what I associated with farmers. I hate to say it. I'm just saying I was thinking of them or preppers or people like that lived through the Great Depression that don't waste anything, and
all of the above. Right. And the big idea was that, okay, so you grew this lovely crop of corn. Mm-hmm. Now, what do you do with it? Because if you don't do something with it, it is somehow or another going to go bad or get bugs in it.
Sure.
And you have a variety of companies that make home canning jars, kits, and everything you need. There's plenty of cookbooks about this. There's plenty of resources online. The whole idea behind canning is exactly food preservation. So in your backyard, Joe, you grew strawberries.
Okay.
All right. Well, strawberries only last a few weeks, but you really like strawberry jam. So you put in 40 strawberry plants, and now you got all these strawberries. You can bag them up and freeze them, or you can go ahead and make strawberry preserves, jar them up. Yeah. And I'm actually holding a jar of pickled green tomatoes.
Right. Yeah. Because we knew you do this. I mean, you've got plants, you've got everything.
And here's the real gig. You love a particular, you and the family really get into your version of chili or your version of a stew. Mm-hmm. Well, make a big old batch of it, and now you can, meal size save either a pint or a quart. You can can it, and the canning process is basically you make it, you put it in the jar, you leave a tiny little bit of airspace, and then you pressure can.
That's what I was going to ask, because that's what's preserving. You take the air out, right?
Right. Well, you get most of the air out, and then you heat it.
Oh.
Because you're going to cover it. So, like these pickles right here.
Right.
This is a little, honestly, a half pint jar. Mm-hmm. And it's the perfect size for something like pickles, because you don't want to. I don't want to make a giant quart of these things, sit in the fridge forever. So, it was packed with all the goodies. I threw in the additional spices that needed to go in it, and I added my brine. It got to within about a half inch of the top. You put your lid and your canning lid on top of it, and then this goes into a hot water bath for 30 minutes.
Okay. See, that's what I was wondering I had a couple specific questions.
And then, at the end of the 30-minute bath, you have some little canning clamps that will pick up the jar. You take them out, and then you get to have my favorite game.
Yeah.
That is listening to the jars pop.
It's the reverse of when you like open a jar of spaghetti sauce and it pops when you
and you hear it suck
open
the
lid.
air in.
Yeah.
What you hear after you've been canning is as soon as the jar cools enough that the vacuum kicks in, you'll hear the top on these little jars ting as they are now completely airtight sealed.
Okay. So here's my question. Well, I got a few questions. So, you know how if you make spaghetti or if you make pasta is the famous one for this. You make a big batch of pasta, you stick it in your refrigerator, and to me, the second day almost tastes better than the first because everything's absorbed into the pasta and everything. So is it the same with canning? Like, does the flavor now? Obviously, you're probably not going to leave it for 6 years or something, but if you can something and then you leave it for I don't know a week, is it going to taste better than the original batch if it absorbs the flavors?
In the case of the example I brought in this morning, completely not knowing you were going to ask me this, actually.
Yeah.
This actually tastes better 2 weeks after I can it because I slipped a few spices in the bottom that are going to, blend over time.
Okay, so that's another good reason for canning. Okay, the other thing was, is it pretty safe? You're talking about boiling and stuff. Could the average person just say, hey, I want to do canning?
The average person can do this. Pay attention, follow the instructions.
Okay, the last thing, so the guy I was talking to, Steve, big shout out to Steve, he said, he's into this. He was talking about,
he need to talk.
He has adjustments on his pressure cooker or something.
Yeah.
Based on sea level. I said, wait, what? He goes, oh, yeah, depending on what sea level you're at, I had no idea cooking was that complicated.
Well,
I don't even know where we sit as far as sea level here in
we're
Memphis.
about 1,500 feet above sea level.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Wow, really?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
So if you drive down to Gulf Shores, you're at sea level. By the time you get here, you've driven uphill.
Okay, is that something that people need to know about? Or is he just hardcore?
Well, if we're in Denver, you really understand that it's difficult to bake because yeast responds differently to the different pressures of the air. He is hardcore because he has a full, what we'd say, a semi-professional canning unit.
Yeah, he seems like he's really
now,
into
when
this.
you really get into this, canning becomes just almost a sport. You can't wait for something to come into season because you have the world's greatest green bean recipe.
Okay. All right. We might have some parting thoughts about that, but I knew you'd be the person to ask about
I
this,
love doing the canning stuff.
All right. Well, you're listening to Tool Talk Radio. We've got more on the table. We're not going to tease it, and we're going to take a quick break, and we'll be right back.
Brought to you by Mr. Beef's Powdered Steak Batter. Fire up the grill, honey. Dinner is about to get interesting. Just mix powder with water, and in 3 hours, you will have something approximating a raw sirloin steak growing in your refrigerator. 50% science experiment, 50% protein, 100% fun. Serve your family something they'll never forget. Try Mr. Beef's Powdered Steak Batter tonight.
Now, there's a blast from the past. It's good to have them back on the show, Allan. I know you're a fan.
You got me all excited with canning, and then you do that, too.
Thank you, Mr. Beef. And welcome back to Tool Talk Radio, coming to you from the Brown Refrigeration Studios. I'm Joe Thorson with Thor's Hammer, Carpentry and Wood Turning. Here with my buddy Allan Gilbreth from darkoakmedia.com. And our pal Max over there behind the glass, who really dropped the bomb on us there.
Oh, that was hilarious.
You can call or text us at the Big M Roofing and Remodeling Hotline at 901-683-0989. There's a lot of things on the table, including the fact that today I was hoping somebody would send in a salute or congratulations to it's Thomas Crapper Day. Is that right, Max? Or
correct.
That's what it's called?
It's his death day. But,
okay.
He will live on forever.
He lives on he's done, you say what you will, the man did a lot to improve society.
And I think we've all already celebrated today.
Exactly. So, yeah.
At least once.
So, but if you've got anything, any kind words to say about Thomas Crapper, we'd love to hear from him. like we said, the Big M Roofing and Remodeling Hotline, 901-683-0989. We also invite you to watch the show. We're only on one of our platforms today, the News Talk 98.9 The Roar's X page. I guess the Facebook page has connection issues, but, whatever. If you're on Facebook, however, you can go to the Tool Talk Radio Facebook page and check out the posts we've made over there. So, well, we before the break, I knew this would happen, Max. I should have never opened this can of worms, but open this can, I guess. But I was genuinely curious about canning. I've noticed. I mean, I know I'm late to the party, and I'm not even a cook. So, but I've become fascinated with a lot of people are canning. It's not just your grandmother or farmers or whoever. I mean this, or people like Allan. This is everybody's doing it, and I think it's a great thing. But you had you had one more thing you wanted to mention about canning.
So. The minute you get into canning, you're going to want storage space.
Okay,
that's just gonna be my little 2-second throw in.
Yeah,
and go. It's a lot of fun to do, but it does take up some space. So. If you're going to, if you've got that world's greatest marinara sauce recipe left to you from, great grandma, and you want to make a big old batch of it for everybody, just remember, you're going to have to find space to store, a dozen jars of, your world famous spaghetti sauce.
Well, in fairness, that was on my that was on my list of questions, because if you look at your kitchen cabinets, because first of all, you got to think of where you're going to store this. You can't. Because some cabinets might be on an outside wall. So if it's summer, those cabinets are going to get warmer. In the winter, they're going to get cooler. Is there, some cabinets are on an interior wall, so it's a little more steady as far as its temperature. Is there an ideal place to store everything if you can something? What's your ideal storage situation?
A good closet or good pantry is just fine. Anything that's, not going to freeze.
Like on an interior wall, maybe?
Well, yeah, you just don't want anything to freeze is the big thing, because generally...
What about heat? Seems like heat would be the worst for me.
Nah, heat doesn't really bother it. It's more it's because it's glass...
Well, that's a good point.
You just don't want to freeze anything enclosed in glass because it will break it.
Okay. And one other tip that I believe Steve gave me was it's just like you see at a grocery store. Label the top, put a label on there with the date you did this, and rotate it. Don't put the new stuff in the front. You put it in the back or whatever.
Always remember to keep your inventory turned.
But if you're out there and you're a canning enthusiast, we'd love to send us pictures, text them in, or call us, or let us know what your thoughts are. What are your secrets to a successful canning operation? So, okay, that was pretty good. I knew you'd be the person to ask about this. So.
I love canning.
Okay, Max, let's shift gears though. It's time for our must-have item of the week, which is going to segue perfectly, apparently, into Allan's Week in Review. So, all right, I'm holding this up, and if you go to our, I'm holding it up from different angles at the camera because it's important to see all the dynamics at play here, Allan. But tell people, I guess, what I'm holding up.
That is a push and grab connector for pipes.
Is that what it? Yeah, push to connect pipe fit. It's basically
we call those push and grabs.
There's no threads. There's no this thing. Right. If you're trying to envision it, basically, if you have a broken water line, that's what this is for. It has to hold high pressure, and there's different diameters depending on what the diameter of your water line is, and basically you push it in one end and push it in. You cut out the bad spot. And these come in different lengths, and you push one end in and you push the other, and once it's in. Well, actually, you can remove them, but you don't really want to. They don't always come out as I know they give you a little key thing that you can push. They don't always work as well as advertised. You want to get it the first try.
Yeah, you want to get that in there correctly.
But for my money, I've used these for the last however many years they've been out. I've been using them, and I've had great success.
Yes.
This is the hill I'll die on. There's a particular brand that I like, but I guess we can't name it on the air. But the reason I'm bringing this in now, you're like, well, all the cold weather is over. Now where it's warm out. Why are you bringing this in? I'm bringing this in because it's still January, and we know we're going to get some more freezes. I suggest do a little research, find out what size water lines you have in your house, and get yourself, 2 or 3 of these in varying lengths, maybe a spare 3-foot piece of copper piping and just put it somewhere safe, because when you need this, everybody else needs it at the same time.
Yes.
When we had that deep freeze a couple of Christmases ago, Alan, my pipe, I spent Christmas Day in my attic fixing this pipe, and I needed 2 of these. And I was there on Christmas Eve. Luckily, they had a couple of spares, but everybody was in that aisle, and we were all fight. It was like it was the hot item. It was like the hot Christmas toy.
Yeah, it was.
Only, and when you need them, and you don't want to be there at the store fighting over the scraps there. So why not just have them?
They have it in stock. Yes.
Right. So why not just have it on hand? And if you're a DIY plumber kind of person, don't try this if you're not comfortable.
Yeah, these are great things. And again, this is another thing that when it's not an emergency, not a bad idea to maybe practice.
Talk to me about that, because that's not a bad, because I do suggest you have a spare piece of pipe, a piece of copper pipe. But yeah, you're big into practicing.
Well, I'm building a building right now for a client, and I'm getting a variety of helpers periodically.
Right.
Some of them are experienced in what we're doing, and a couple of them have been complete newbies that just want to learn how to do this stuff. And once you've done it once or twice and it's not life or death, you feel much more comfortable about what you're doing.
Well, and it's probably a good idea to learn how to remove them if you ever if it comes to it.
There's a lot of people out there that have never cut a copper pipe with a hacksaw. They've never done it.
I don't suggest that. I think you use the right pipe cutter.
I know, but they've never done it. And if it was an actual emergency, how would you cut this pipe? How would you know to cut it? What would you know to look for? So there's just a lot of times where, a few YouTube videos, we've always talked about those.
Yeah.
You can always go online and look up stuff. But it's not the same until you actually do it.
That's true. That's not a bad idea. Get a 4-foot pipe and cut off a few inches at a time. But please don't use a hacksaw. They have a little pipe cutter. It's like $8.
Yes.
Get that. It's a little device. It'll fit right in your holster, Alan. And then
it does.
Spin around. It leaves you a clean edge. I wanted to mention one thing. I'm holding this up towards the camera because there's a little plastic fitting inside that actually it can move around, and you don't just shove this thing in willy-nilly. This thing has to fit. If it goes in crooked, you're going to pinch and bend and maybe split that plastic, and that won't work. So it takes a little finesse. So
yeah, that's why I say, actually giving it a little bit of practice is not necessarily a bad thing.
And you were talking about it too. It's gonna lead in. This is a good top of the hour tease, because it's gonna lead in perfectly to our discussion that you had with Allan's Week in Review. Apparently, I don't know if you were using these, but you were dealing with.
I have used anything I could get my hands on this week. It has been a lot of fun, because you have not only the cold to deal with, but then you have the aftermath of the cold.
That's what I wonder. That's something, and that's kind of what we're probably going to discuss a little bit when we come back, because I wonder, we had a few limbs that just fell, and it was right after the deep freeze. I just wonder what things do. We talk about how our house expands and contracts. Everything else expands and contracts.
Yes, it does.
In this weather, and it doesn't necessarily, they don't necessarily like it. They rebel, and Allan's going to tell us how he quenched the rebellion.
It's been a week, I got to tell you.
When we come back. Hour 1 of Tool Talk Radio's in the can, but never fear, folks. We got a full hour coming up next on News Talk 98.9 The Roar. We'll be right back.
News Talk 98.9 The Roar of Memphis. Tool Talk Radio with Joe and Allan.
And welcome to Hour 2 of Tool Talk Radio, coming to you from the Brown Refrigeration Studios. I'm Joe Thorderson with Thor's Hammer, Carpentry and Wood Turning, here with my buddy Allan Gilbreth from darkoakmedia.com and our pal Max over there behind the glass. You can call or text us at the Big M Roofing and Remodeling Hotline at 901-683-0989. We also invite you to watch the show. You can watch the show on the News Talk 98.9 The Roar's X page. I don't know if you can watch it on the Facebook page yet. We're having some connection issues. But regardless, if you're over on Facebook, scoot on over to the Tool Talk Radio Facebook page and check out the posts we've made over there. If you're just tuning in, right before the break, we were talking about our must-have item of the week, which had to do with water line repair with our it was the push-to-connect pipe fittings. I'm suggesting keeping a supply of these around.
Oh, yeah.
In advance. And also maybe a 3 or 4 foot section of copper pipe, just in case you have, because you know we've got more cold weather coming. We hope nobody's water line breaks, but you want to be ready in case it does. So, but this seems to have tied in interestingly with what you've been doing the last week, Allan, right?
The humanity.
So that's that ear-splitting sound means it's time for Allan's Week in Review. We want to find out what you've been up to. And weird times, we went from extreme cold to really, for winter weather, extreme warmth. I mean, it was 60-something degrees the other day.
Well, we went from installing warm tape to make sure pipes didn't burst to dealing with the fact that we had a dramatic temperature change. Because we had 60 degrees in less than 48 hours?
Yeah, really, because it was
near
freezing. It was at least a 50-degree swing, but it was a lot.
We eased up to at least to about 30, and then we jumped way into the 50s.
Right.
So, it was pretty dramatic.
Yeah.
And, wow, here we go.
And your home loves that when that happens.
Oh, my gosh. All right, well, let's start with your favorite topic, tree limbs.
Yeah, I dealt with that. A bunch of them fell.
Well, they became saturated because it rained before it got freezingly cold. So guess what happened to that water that got into some of that permeable wood?
Yeah.
It froze.
Expanded, cracked the wood.
Let's talk a moment about the power of ice.
Sure.
So let's say we were going to make a little pipe bomb. So we went and got a 1-inch galvanized pipe, and we got those screw-on ends. And if you've ever seen these at the big box store or at a plumbing supply house, these things look serious.
Are we supposed to be talking about this on the air?
Well,
Allan?
we can, because it's a cautionary tale because I had many, many, many years ago an instructor that would take one of these, a little 6-inch one, and he would put it completely underwater, and he would seal it up. And then he would sacrifice a small freezer.
Oh, I see where he's going. Yeah.
Behind some blast shields. And he would, explain to those of us who were looking in the safety industry and risk management the power of ice.
Right.
And sometime or another during his lecture, that little freezer would give up its life.
Yeah.
Because the expansion power of ice is shocking. And this is where your potholes come from. A little bit of water gets down in a crack.
Yeah, we saw a lot of new potholes after this storm.
That ice pushes it open, and then, of course, we've had nothing but rain for 4 days. So it's been washing out the gravel.
And by the way, a little automotive tip: if you have a leaky radiator, or if you're filling up that radiator, and all you have is water, when you put water in it can crack a car engine. It's that
it will pop it. Yes,
yeah,
it can indeed.
So don't do that. Put in the radiator fluid.
Tree limbs freeze, snap, break, and then of course we went straight into 4 days of rain. So I was at a property yesterday that, it looked like somebody had shaken everything very vigorously. There were lots of limbs down. The other thing I ran into, this was big on Monday, the phone call saying my outside spigot is spraying.
Okay. After the cold is over.
After the cold is over. And so everybody's kind of confused, but my pipes didn't burst. What's wrong with my spigot now? Well, what's wrong with your spigot now is that ice got you.
Yeah. And it finally melted.
And, bless the heart of one of my clients. She had the little covers on it and everything. She did everything she could do, but it's an old house. And we had an extended period of really, really Arctic temperatures.
May I say, can I chime in on that?
Dive
because you triggered me again. So we're all obviously here in the Mid-South. You definitely want those little covers that go over your outside spigots. However, depending on the type of brick you have, you don't just put the thing on and say, well, I'm all set. You have to feel around, and if there's any gaps, because like if you have a really thick mortar with a, maybe the mortar has a half-inch recessed something, well, that's all cold air. Cold air is still getting in, so you're going to have to get creative. I don't know what, stuff it with paper towels or stuff it with something to keep that air out, maybe some more foam. But, yeah, make sure that thing is sealed tight, because sometimes it's not. You might feel around and go, oh, there's a gap. So, yeah, well, there was some gap getting in, obviously. So,
but then it freezes.
Right.
All right. Well, guess what? You're not going to know that because it's underneath the little cover and it's frozen. So what has actually happened is that ice can actually turn your water handle for you as it extends.
Yeah.
Because if you ever look inside of one of those, as you turn it, there's a little metal piece that comes around, and that is actually the valve.
Right. Right.
And once that water begins to freeze and expand, it can force that valve to move or even bend it.
Well, I was about to say, because I think it's going to do some
damage. You can't turn the water off ever again. And as my poor client pointed out, wait a minute, that is a small piece of metal. How strong do you have to be to bend that? And I'm like, well, ice is that strong.
Sure.
So, bless their hearts. A number of people have experienced leaky outside faucets because of this extended cold.
Right.
So, as I tell everybody, for right now, let's stop the water from running and go down to your local plumbing supply or big box store, and you can get a little cap. It's a very high test plastic that you can screw onto there. And that will keep the water from running out.
Oh, now that's a quick fix. I mean, I feel like it still could run out of the handle and everything, but
so
at least it slows it down.
At least it's not wasting your money and wasting water, because we also had low water pressure for like 8 days.
Well, that sounds to me like another thing you need to keep on hand anyway. Yes. Just keep a few of those caps.
I keep about 3 of them in my truck all the time.
Okay.
And the other thing is, of course, my favorite rant is know where your water key is. Be able to turn your water off.
Yep.
Because we had one case where, honestly, the outside spigot got turned all the way on and was just blowing water. So there was so much water pressure coming out, you couldn't get the little cap on it. So we had to turn off the water to get the cap on it.
Okay. Yeah.
And then turn the water back on so that it wasn't blowing all over the backyard.
And make sure grass and mud and stuff isn't over your I keep mine very accessible because you just never know. So, but all right. Well, it's funny because we would think, oh, well, now that the cold weather has passed a little bit, we can think about other things. But no, when it thaws out.
Yeah, I need to go check and see if those things are dripping or leaking because of take care of it now, because if we have another big cold snap and you've got water dripping out of it, it's really going to get in there and do some damage.
Okay. Pretty interesting stuff. So, all right. Well, not the worst week you've ever had.
No, it wasn't bad.
Okay.
Everybody was saved.
Okay. Awesome. All right. Hey, you're listening to Tool Talk Radio. We're going to take a quick break. Then we have a really interesting discussion in our Great Moments in Building History, talking about Las Vegas's new Fontainebleau Hotel.
Tool Talk Radio with Joe and Allan.
There's something occluding your ear.
It's sawdust. Just blow.
News Talk 98.9, the roar of Memphis.
Yeah, Max knows how much I hate that one. Okay. No comment. Weird. And welcome back to Tool Talk Radio, coming to you from the Brown Refrigeration Studio.
Sometimes you guys just got to rattle the chains.
He gives us Mr. Beef's powdered steak batter, which is a classic, and then he follows it up with that lame one. So, anyway, I'm Joe Thorson with Thor's Hammer, Carpentry and Wood Turning. Here with my buddy Allan Gilbreth from darkoakmedia.com and our pal Max over there behind the glass. You can call or text us at the Big M Roofing and Remodeling Hotline at 901-683-0989. We also invite you to watch the show on the News Talk 98.9 The Roar's X page, the Facebook Facebook page is having connection issues with the camera. I mean, the regular Facebook page is working. So, and also while you're on Facebook, scoot on over to the Tool Talk Radio Facebook page and check out the posts we've made over there. So, all right. Well, this is going to be a very interesting discussion.
And now, great moments in building history.
This one was suggested to us by our buddy Ditch, the program director, host of Memphis Morning News, all that good stuff. He's a institution around here, and it's also based on a contest they're having, and I suppose we can mention it because it's here on the station. The Roar is giving away. I don't want to give all the details because I don't have, but it's basically a stay for the big game. I have to say that right now. Okay. The big game coming up on February 11th, I think we all know what that is, at the literally brand new Fontainebleau Hotel and Resort and Casino in Las Vegas. Although it's funny because we say brand new, it's been being built for 15 years. So in some ways, the guts of it are a little old. But I wanted to kick this off. I will say, we've done a lot. We've done all our show prep on this. We've been researching it. And what the first thing that struck me is I was watching a show called The Old Man over on Hulu. And John Lithgow, his character, was building a Lego house with his grandson. And he said a quote that I really liked. He goes, we don't have to fill this whole thing up. It's not a bad idea to have some open space. And he said, as such and such said, space is the breath of art. Who said that? Frank Lloyd Wright?
Frank Lloyd Wright.
Okay, and I thought that was a great quote because that's what struck me when I was researching the Fontainebleau in Las Vegas. There's a lot of open space that works really well. They didn't cram it full of, didn't cram every square. They let it breathe, and it really is an impressive structure.
And I just wanted to begin also with a fun little etymology lesson for people about the name Las Vegas.
Okay.
It translates to the meadows in Spanish.
Okay, go ahead.
Because back in the day, it actually had lush grasses, and it had it was sort of like a oasis and everything for people who were traveling out west. And so the idea of breadth and open space and everything harkens back even to Vegas's very origins.
I'm kind of curious, not to sidetrack, but how far back are we going, Max?
About the 1800s, I believe.
You don't think of Vegas as meadows or something. Maybe there's meadows out there. I don't know. That's interesting. But anyway, all right. So let's talk about the Fontainebleau. I keep wanting to put a U in there, but it's and it's spelled. It's not blue, BLUE. It's BLEAU. Sounds very French.
Yes,
so,
yes.
Anyway.
In fact, it is French.
Okay.
And then here's another etymology lesson for you.
Okay.
It comes from the Château de Fontainebleau in France, which was a palace that built by about 36 that took 36 kings to complete, and it translates to the spring of beautiful water.
Oh, okay. All right. Sounds good. Well, there's a lot of blue on this in this construction. So
well, there you go.
All right. Well, let's unpack this. So,
okay. Well, let's unpack a huge building, absolutely massive. This is, and I'm gonna tie it all back to home improvement in just a second, but we have to mention the fact that there are 3,644 guest rooms and suites.
Yeah, just let that sink in because that's a lot.
There you go.
That's a lot of
Memphis,
rooms.
And that's about half of the hotel rooms we have in this town, it feels like.
It's
a lot.
Just
one building.
It's 67 floors, and which makes it the tallest building in Vegas. Not that I know there's a tower that's taller, but
right.
And maybe even in Nevada, I think. And then it takes up, I think, 25 acres. It's big, 737 feet tall. They said, some of the spaces inside are, the convention ballroom. You could put two jets, 747s nose to nose, and they would fit inside this ballroom. So everything is big here, including the number of guest rooms. But
I mean, and these are not small rooms either.
Right.
I mean, a suite is like 900 square feet.
Yeah.
The luxury suites can go up to 2,000 square feet. So it's not like it's a cruise ship, and you got your little you got your closet with your bed in it. These are very, very luxurious areas. Lots, and again, like you said, lots of space. The idea behind all of this was the free flow of getting from one part to the other.
Yes.
So you should be able to, as they say, you should be able to wander or move smoothly throughout all of the different attractions in the building.
Right.
And of course, we'll start with, they have a huge event space. They got lots of room for meetings and conventions.
That's what attracted me. They said it's like 550,000 square feet of space. And that's a lot. Let's just put it that way.
Yeah,
if you do the math, it would be a cool place to go to an event. I mean, I've always wanted to go to like the Star Trek convention in Vegas. I'm going to get there at some point, but it is, if you can see, I'm not advocating gambling and wasting your money on whatever. I know people do that, but if you can control that, there's a lot of fun things to do in Vegas. I mean, there's a lot of shows, there's a lot of interest, and their architecture is always revolutionary. They're always at the cutting edge. So, but this space, it almost looks like the casino is secondary here. I mean, the casino's very understated. Really, there's a lot. This is a resort. I mean, this is cool. This is like its own little city almost. So,
well, it's kind of a one-stop destination because it has its own theater that only seats 3,800 people.
That doesn't sound, but that's still you could still see a cool concert.
That's huge, right? Yeah. 57 breakout rooms, 4 ballrooms. So for the company or company category looking to have a convention and try to get everything in one place under one roof. Because the biggest thing besides having a place to put people, you got to feed them.
Well, I was wondering when you're going to get to the food part of this, because that's impressive.
In the just casual dining alone, they have Asian, American, French, Italian, they got sushi, Mexican, you name it. That's just the casual. And then, of course, they have high-end dining as well. So you've got your signature dining places. And the other thing they got to this is the amount of group dining that they can do.
There you go.
So you're having your big event, welcome to. And again, I'm tying all of this. The reason we're talking about the Fontainebleau is that especially it's getting to be spring. And you and I both know it's renovation time.
Well, yeah.
People are really going to start looking at, what do I want to do to my home? What do I want to do? And the biggest thing I'm going to say, the takeaway, if you go online and look up the Fontainebleau and look at the amazing pictures they have of it, you're going to see, and the one thing that's going to get you is don't just look at the color palettes. Look at the amount of visual impact they're letting something have. Now, what do I mean by that? When you go to a museum and you go to look at something like the Mona Lisa, they want you to be X amount of distance from it because everything you design has a best visual impact at a certain distance.
Right, exactly. Yeah.
So
that's what got me excited. That's why I kind of kicked it off with the space is the breath of art. They really understand open spaces because the temptation would be to cram as many things and attractions into one area that you can. Well, sometimes having a big, like they say when you walk in, the foyer when you walk in is impressive. It's really just a very open space with some cool architecture, and they let you, and so you can appreciate everything that's in there, but it doesn't overwhelm you. And space is its own, its own feature. It's, I don't know. I'm a big believer in letting things breathe and just,
especially you and I know a lot of people that collect a lot of art. And, it needs a certain amount of distance to be appreciated properly.
Exactly.
And if you've got stuff everywhere, people can see it, but they can't really enjoy it to its fullest unless they can be at the proper distance from it.
Another thing that we sort of skipped over, and we'll probably pick up on this when we come back. This was not a smooth sailing. This thing took 15 years. They rotten timing. They went through the crisis of 2008, all sorts of things, but eventually they got it going. So we'll talk about some of that and some of the other cool design choices they made to make this really an impressive structure. You're listening to Tool Talk Radio. We're talking about our great moments in building history, the Fontainebleau in Las Vegas, and we'll continue the conversation when we come back.
Tool Talk Radio with Joe and Allan.
Salt water will warp the wood, so keep your tears in your eyes where they belong.
News Talk 98.9, the roar of Memphis.
Yeah, okay. I mean, any water is going to warp the wood. So he's whatever. And well, I always get a little ticked off by Ron Swanson. I don't know. The guy,
I forgot
he
to
speaks
pick
in such absolutes.
I forgot to pick a new one, so just play the thing that was next.
Okay. Anyway, welcome back to Tool Talk
Little
Radio.
peek behind the curtain.
Coming to you from the Brown Refrigeration Studios, I'm Joe Thorderson with Thor's Hammer, Carpentry and Wood Turning, here with my buddy Allan Gilbreth from darkoakmedia.com and our pal Max over there behind the glass. You can call or text us at the Big M Roofing and Remodeling hotline at 901-683-0989. We also invite you to watch the show today on the News Talk 98.9 The Roar's X page. The Facebook page has some connection issues, so just if you want to check it out, we have that feed going to the X page. But while if you're on Facebook, scoot on over to the Tool Talk Radio Facebook page and like the page and share it and check out the posts we've made over there. We're in the middle of a conversation talking in our Great Moments in Building History about the Fontainebleau with a lot of, it's very French sounding. It's not B-L-U-E, it's B-L-E-A-U in Las Vegas. It is, I think at this point, the tallest structure, the tallest building, at least, in Nevada.
And it's also the biggest hotel in America.
Yeah, it's got over 3,600 rooms, as Allan indicated. It's 737 feet tall. There's a lot going on in this property. We're going to talk about it. And, of course, there's a contest going on here at News Talk 98.9 The Roar. One person that is not able to qualify for that contest, though, Jay, I'm very sorry to tell you that. You cannot win because you're part of the station, is our good buddy Jay Hill with Big M Roofing and Remodeling. I have no doubt, though, that he might go there for the big game. You know, it seems like his kind of thing. But Jay Hill is all about the exterior protection of your home. I mean, that's his first. It is. That's what he's dedicated to. From roofing to gutters to siding to windows, it's a top-down operation, and they all work. They all have to work harmoniously to keep everything protected from the outside of your home. And of course, we always lean in heavily to his roofing expertise because Jay is always 5 stars with the Better Business Bureau. He's a GAF Master Elite Installer who works. GAF is really the elite, and they are at the cutting edge of roofing technology. And it's funny, you don't think of roofing as technology or like it's shingles, it's whatever. No, it's all very well thought out. These are not just shingles. This is a roofing system that's going on your home. Even the ridge caps, everything that they put together is designed for longevity, and that's why they offer a lifetime transferable warranty for their roofing systems. That's standing behind your work. Not everybody does that. Not everybody has that dedication or that expertise, but Jay Hill does. Also, Jay is a former insurance agent, which is very critical because there's a lot of situations where you might have damage to the outside of your home, especially your roof. And it's tough to find out whether or not that damage is covered by your homeowner's insurance. You need somebody with expertise in that area, and that's one of Jay Hill's strong suits. So he comes out. It's a free consultation. He'll look over the roof and the outside of your home, and then he can evaluate whether or not you've got a path forward. And if you do, boy, is that exciting because you're going to save thousands of dollars. Allan and I have saved thousands of dollars getting our roof replaced that exact way. And also, you may need to finance. Jay has a relationship with 30 lenders, and it's really easy to qualify these days. You basically you log on. It takes you, 2 or 3 minutes, and suddenly you're going to be approved by whatever lenders approve you. Then you can look through and decide what terms work best for you. So, but Jay is a very dynamic personality. We love the business culture he's created with Big M Roofing and Remodeling. Somehow he's attracted the best technicians and the best installers. We just love working with Jay Hill, and he's a lot of fun too. So if you want to see how fun he is, call him directly, especially call him during the big game in the middle of in the middle of an exciting play. Call him directly at 901-484-5645 or go to his website, bigmroofingandremodeling.com. Well, before the break, we've been talking about, in great moments in building history, the Fontainebleau in Las Vegas. And if you want, go to the News Talk 98.9, the Roar's Facebook page, and get some information about the contest, because it's pretty cool. I mean, it's pretty comprehensive. They're going to fly you out. You're going to be staying there for the big game. I think there's a private viewing party in the 3,800 seat.
It's called the Blue Live Theater.
Blue Live Theater. It's a pretty awesome prize package. So this is big, and if you want to get in on it, follow News Talk 98.9 The Roar. But Allan, it was a rocky road getting here, because this thing started. Well, let's face it, they broke ground. You couldn't have picked a worse time. It was during the crisis of 2008 when things started. First of all, so there was. This is when things got going on it.
Right.
It triggered, basically, there were all sorts of financing problems. It's changed hands several times. It sat empty for a long time. People were wondering if they even, over those years, might have to tear it down, because, in Vegas, they will tear down structures if it comes to it.
Yes,
but
they will.
It's kind of a good lesson. If you're going to start a project at your home, you better have the financing laid out, and you better have everything budgeted. You don't want to be in this situation.
Right.
But it was a little dicey for a while.
I thought it was funny how it started with one guy, changed hands so many times, and it finally ended with the first guy getting it back.
Yeah, which is interesting. And so, but I mean, you don't want that. Nobody, and I don't know what happens to steel, and I don't know what happens to things that sit forever like that. But one thing I wanted to say too, about the Fontainebleau, because Allan, we've been in and out of our share of convention spaces. I was really attracted to this convention area, and I'm wondering what kind of big productions they're going to put on there. But there is a certain, well, even the hotel and everything, there's a certain mindset and a certain design choices you have to think about with making a space attractive. I mean, you're competing with all sorts of other spaces too. There's a lot of other convention space that people could choose. I don't know. When you're thinking of an ideal convention space, what are some of the things you look at? Because I know I look at logistics, but
well, you look at everything from the parking to, and here's one I always want to throw in: if you are planning on attending an event, make sure you pay attention to loading and unloading.
That was my first one,
that is kind of that's kind of a sticky wicket sometimes. I've been to a number of, you and I attend a variety of home shows and stuff like that, and different types of conventions around the country. And there's your sales pitch. If you guys would like us to come visit, get in touch with us. We'll be happy to come see you.
Absolutely.
But I usually bring all kinds of swag and stuff. You bring all kinds of equipment. And you and I often are dragging stuff upstairs through the doorways that the regular people use and the other conventions. Hey, there's this great entrance. Just pull right around here, unload your stuff, go park, come back, and just wheel straight in.
Right.
And you remember those really fondly.
Oh, yeah. Well, it's funny because, they're talking about 550,000 square feet of convention space.
Yeah.
Now, some of it is breakout rooms, but this massive ballroom that you could basically fit 747 jets nose to nose, and I can just imagine how big that is. Well, they're going to be having trade shows, car shows, things like that. Well, people have to you might have to pull a semi-truck into this ballroom to unload. So it's funny because when I heard about this, the first thing I wanted to see, and I couldn't find any information on YouTube about this, is I wanted to see the loading area, just like you said, because that's the stuff that interests me, is all the logistical things. And I have to imagine, I'm sure they've taken all this into account. I'm sure it's lots of elevators, lots of transitional spaces for the vendors and things like that. But
the biggest thing
that stuff's interesting.
The ramps and easy access, because having done a number of things with theaters, one of the huge upgrades even to the Orpheum Theater here in Memphis was access so that you could unload an 18-wheeler.
Right.
Because, some of the shows that will be produced there have very large and very elaborate sets.
Yeah, because I'm thinking if you do an aerial view of the Fontainebleau, you're going to see some areas where you're like, what's going on there? I have to believe that's the loading and that's all the behind, what they call it, back of house stuff.
Yeah, back of house stuff.
Yeah,
but that is actually, and I love to tell people this. I say sometimes the easier it is for you, you're just a client. You walk in the front door, and everything is so miraculously simple. That is years of planning, engineering, implementation, and I'm going to throw in a little bit of a challenge because of the way they laid out the Fontainebleau is if you are looking at a little life change in your own house, give yourself a little elbow room.
Right.
You had this wardrobe sitting in this hallway all these years. Can it move somewhere else? Can you give yourself a little extra space? Can you get rid of some of the clutter?
Yeah.
And a lot of people, actually, I know 2 or 3 people right now that are actively hardcore decluttering because, stuff just piles up over time.
You can't enjoy something if it's hidden behind 30 other things.
Exactly.
There's something to be said for taking away, decluttering and just showcasing maybe 1 or 2 things in your home, not 50 things. So
it kind of makes me think of how in art museums there's a lot of open space, and then the paintings are just like on the walls. There's not a lot of like clutter and everything. They leave room for like a lot of breathing. And so the idea of laying out a hotel like an art museum, it's kind of fascinating.
It does. Yeah, I think that's what they did here. The design, I would highly recommend. This is a good one. Get on YouTube. Go down the rabbit hole. There's no shortage of videos now because it's the hot place to go.
Yeah.
I think Justin Timberlake was there at opening night and things. So
I wouldn't doubt it.
But it's cool. And like I said, when I was watching it, I mean, the casino almost seemed to be an afterthought. It was a lot of other things to do there. It looks like a cool visit. I don't think it's going to be cheap to visit. It looks like it's little high end, but probably not.
You get to spoil yourself every so often.
Yeah, but the Fontainebleau, very cool construction, and it's nice that it's finally open. So, what we're going to shift gears when we come back. Max has a question for you, Allan, all about vampire electricity.
Ooh.
So we're going to tackle that when we come back here on Tool Talk Radio.
Tool Talk Radio with Joe and Allan.
You've got paper and you've got paint. A deadly combination! Let me show you.
News Talk 98.9, the roar of Memphis.
Yeah, I'm never going to understand that one. I don't know what kind of paint this guy's using. What kind of paint is he sniffing, Anyway, welcome back to
I think he's drinking mercury.
I mean, a couple hundred years ago, he might have a point, but I mean, a can of latex paint.
Latex don't burn, y'all.
Who cares?
Latex don't burn.
And welcome back to Tool Talk Radio, coming to you from the Brown Refrigeration Studios. I'm Joe Thorderson with Thor's Hammer, Carpentry and Wood Turning, here with my buddy Allan Gilbreth from darkoakmedia.com and our pal Max over there behind the glass. You have just enough time for a quick message if you want to call or text us at the Big M Roofing and Remodeling Hotline at 901-683-0989. And if you're out there and if you're not going to say it, I'm going to say it one more time. A big shout out to a holiday we're celebrating today, the holiday of Thomas Crapper, the basically man who helped revolutionize indoor plumbing and make the world a more convenient, better smelling, and more sanitized society. And so
when you're listening to us, where. Thank Thomas Crapper.
Exactly.
Yep.
It's his holiday today. Also, if you want to watch the show, really, you could watch the show anytime, too. You can come back and watch it because it's saved for the ages. Today, it was only featured on the News Talk 98.9 The Roar's X page. I don't know. It's pretty stormy outside. There were some connection issues with the News Talk 98.9 The Roar's Facebook page, but, never fear. It'll be back up next week. However, while you're on Facebook, it's a good time to scoot on over to the Tool Talk Radio Facebook page and check out the posts we've made over there and join share the page, like the page, and scroll through. We have a lot of interesting content. We don't put spam up there. We don't put garbage things. We put family-friendly things in. You can scroll through with your kids, and there's a lot of interesting articles and shows over the years that we save, Alan. And for people that want to listen to our past shows, I bet you there's a way they could do that, right? So
they can even take us with them.
Talk to me.
All they got to do is pop over to tooltalkradio.com and discover our lovely podcasting systems through both YouTube and Spotify. So whatever your favorite, as they love to say, whatever your favorite format of podcast is, we're there.
And also, while we're talking about that, what's going on with Dark Oak Media this week?
Dark Oak Media is getting a lot of Mardi Gras traffic right now because of our Haunted New Orleans series.
Yeah, you've got a lot of connections in New Orleans.
Yeah, we love New Orleans right now, and they're getting ready to fire it up, and king cakes and parades and crawfish and exciting times down there, provided, of course, we don't have another polar vortex
I was about to
chill
say.
everything out.
Right.
But that is kind of our biggest thing going on right now. So, but we've got a lot of new projects lining up. So we'll have a lot more new content rolling out almost immediately.
Okay, cool. And as long as we're shameless plugging, I just want to say I'm a carpenter. I do a lot of home improvement. I wear a lot of hats, but that's what I really enjoy doing. And I like to work directly with homeowners and building things, a lot of outdoor projects, room additions, decks, patio covers, things like that, pergolas, fences, whatever. But also interior work. And I love the whole process of coming up with a project, designing it, and working with the homeowner directly. And with that in mind, one of the things that's helpful with is I've been doing this long enough where I understand the concept of keeping a low overhead. That's something I try to do so I can stay competitive with prices. And so if you give me a call, I've got years of expertise, and also, like I said, you might be surprised that I can come in under budget, or I'm very competitive with my prices because I like
on time and on budget.
I don't like to waste money on bells and whistles that I don't need. So you can get in touch with me directly if you're interested, and I'd love to take a look at your project. 901-921-7105, or go to my website, thorshomes.com. All right, well, we got just enough time. This is, I guess, what we're calling this, an Ask Allan. Max, you wanted to ask.
And now, a deep cut.
I just want to use this.
All right, so it's a deep cut. All right, whatever. But this is something that you were curious about. So. And I think I teed it up wrong, too, anyway.
He just likes the Fruit Ninja stuff.
Okay.
Yeah, I got to push those buttons, man.
So what you got for me?
So I kind of heard of this phrase, and I'm very curious about it because I've heard it about, like in reference to conserving electricity, because this was during the snowpocalypse, and it's like when we were trying to be more conscientious about energy conservation. I've heard about something called vampire power drainage, and I was wondering what that is and what some popular examples that might include, so that we could kind of like immediately implement.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, you are talking about phantom electricity, and so here we go. Phantoms and vampires. Talking about your house. Okay. When you walk in the house and you go clap, clap, and the lights come on. Well, obviously the lights were off, but guess what? There was a device drawing power sitting there listening for you.
It was kind of like potential energy in physics.
Well, but it is basically phantom electricity because while it is not drawing the full load of all the lights being on, it is a little tiny vampire in the fact that it is part of the home current.
Is that kind of a similar logic to the idea of like even when we're sleeping, our brains are still technically on, but they're just not firing at the same speed, you might say?
Well, this is...
Leave it to Max
in
to
a
go
roundabout
there,
sort of way.
Okay.
You're actually not that far off. All right, so we have the alarm clock sitting there. It's plugged into the wall, and it's clicking away. All right, that is a direct use. You're going to set the alarm. The alarm's going to go off, but it fundamentally doesn't really change the amount of power that it draws from. Your air conditioner, on the other hand, fulfills. And once it's fulfilled, a lot of the equipment shuts off. But now you still have a device running on electricity that is listening or waiting for the temperature to change. So today, the problem is we have about 1,000 different devices that all need some kind of charger.
Well, I'm even thinking of like your microwave. Even if you're not using it, there's a clock on there.
It's sitting there waiting for you to tell it what to do.
Your TV has a little red light.
Your
waiting
oven,
for it
your television, your radios, your computers, of all of these things. Now, mostly in the computer world, most of your computing devices will, quote unquote, fall asleep. They're still drawing energy.
Mm-hmm.
They're not drawing the same level of energy that they would fully awake, quote unquote, but they are still drawing energy. So when you do have an event happen, and we're getting into spring, we're moving rapidly into spring, judging by the big box stores I was at yesterday.
Seems like it, yeah.
They're rolling out seeds and planting stuff, so we'll be talking about that soon. However, there's all these devices that wait and listen, and they are all drawing a small amount of power. And in the event of like a lightning strike, they are on, and they can get hit or popped.
It seems like, okay, when you look around the house, there's things that are plugged in that don't necessarily have, like, I guess here's what I'm wondering. Like, what if you use the vacuum cleaner and you're done and you stick it in the corner and you forgot to unplug it or things like that? Like, or there's things that, yeah.
All right, instead of the vacuum cleaner, all right, I take it back. Let's say you do have a Roomba.
Okay.
I'll pick on one of those little floor device things. They have a little battery pack on them. However, their charging station is still plugged into the wall, and when it redocks, it recharges itself.
Yeah.
So you have two different levels of usage. So what everybody kind of forgets is all of these chargers, docking stations, and things that wait are all little tiny electrical vampires drawing a little bit of current. And we call it phantom current because we don't really think of it as when we turn the TV on, the TV uses its full current. When we turn the TV off via the remote control, a little piece of the TV is still on and drawing a small amount of current.
So if you have a phone charger with a tiny light on it, just unplug it.
Then if you see that tiny light, it is taking a tiny little bite out of your electricity.
So is that kind of a major solution? Because I'd imagine you'd be kind of paranoid to unplug everything.
Here is my solution. My solution is a good power strip, not hidden on the floor. Put a power strip up on the desk on top where you can see it because it has an on-off power. And you can plug all of those chargers into that. And now, when you're done, click, turn that off. And now you have quieted the phantoms and the vampires.
And power strip is the same thing as surge protector, right?
A surge protector power strip.
And don't plug your space heater into it because it's dangerous. So,
don't
plug that one
daisy
straight
chain
into a wall.
Don't daisy chain.
All right, so it's really just it's us being conscientious. It's not it's not like the devices aren't doing anything wrong. They're just doing their job.
They're doing exactly what they were programmed or designed to do.
Yeah, I would say the rule of thumb is if anything's got a light on it, turn it off.
Yep. It's drawing power.
All right. Well, I don't know where. Speaking of drawing power, I don't know where these 2 hours went. They're over, but they're saved for the ages, so never fear. But we got to get out of here, you guys. So on behalf of my buddy Allan Gilbreth and our pal Max over there behind the glass, I'm Joe Thorderson. Thanks for listening to Tool Talk Radio, and we'll see you next week.
And rest in peace, Thomas Crapper.
Amen.